to my channel, guys. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this quick, easy biscuit dough recipe. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss a single recipe from me. All the measurements will be available for you in the description box below. I'm going to show you guys how you take one dough mixture and you can make up to 8 different types or flavors of biscuit. So if you're interested in knowing that, please stay tuned and let's get started. Okay, so we're starting off with some cake flour. I'm using a snowflake cake flour, and then to that I'm just going to be adding some baking powder, and I'm also using the snowflake baking powder for this recipe. You're more than welcome to use whichever ones you have on hand. I'm just going to give that a quick mix just to make sure that my baking powder and my cake flour are evenly distributed. And then next I'm going to be adding some castor sugar. So I'm just going to add about a cup of castor sugar. If you don't have castor sugar, you're more than welcome to use a white granulated sugar. I don't recommend you use brown sugar because that tends to change the color of your biscuit. Okay, next we're also going to go ahead and add some butter. Okay, so next we're going to be using some butter, and I'm using some Rama. You're also more than welcome to use wooden spoon, the white one specifically, and I'm just going to be rubbing that against each other so that I can get a nice breadcrumb consistency. So I am making these cookies in winter, so my room temperature butter is still a little bit hot because it is a bit cold. But if you are doing this in summer, then your butter will be slightly softer than mine, and that's completely fine. You'll still get the same result. Okay, so the consistency that we're looking for is breadcrumby, and you're going to be doing that until you achieve it on all your flour mixture. So you don't want any of it to not be crumbed. Okay, so once we have completed that, this is what the texture will look like, and our next step will then be to add liquids. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and create a well at the bottom of the bowl, and then the only liquid that we're going to be adding to this mixture is some eggs, and then you're going to combine it with your fingers. If you are using an electric mixer, then I strongly recommend that you do not follow the steps that I've done so far. I recommend that you mix your eggs and your sugar together in a separate bowl, and then you add your butter and you mix that up, and then you combine it with your flour by adding it piece by piece. That way everything will combine nice and evenly. If you're doing it by hand, then you continue to follow the process that I am following. So I have tried to combine it as far as possible inside the bowl until it was no longer feasible, and then I've taken everything out and I've just put it on my work surface, and I'm going to continue to try and combine everything together. It is winter, so as we continue working with our dough, the butter will be melting and your dough will become much easier to work with. If you're making this in summer, then you will find this process to be much easier than for me who's doing it in winter. So once So I'm going to be cutting my dough mixture into 4 equal pieces. This mixture is now ready for you to use. You can shape it into any shape you want, and you can eat cookies from it just like this, or you can follow my steps and create a few flavors. So the first one that we're going to be creating is coconut, and I'm just going to pour the coconut on the top surface of the rolled dough, and then I'm just going to be gently mixing it in by punching it into itself and just distributing those coconut flakes in there, and then I'm going to repeat the process with the remaining coconut flakes. You can also do the same process if you want to be adding chocolate chips into your cookies. You just add them in, fold it over, and punch it into itself until everything is nice and evenly distributed. Then you will roll it up with a rolling pin, and like I mentioned in the title, we are not using cookie cutters. I am only using a glass. You can choose a small glass or one with a wider diameter. It's just up to you, because you can decide how thick and how wide you want your cookies to be. So my coconut cookies, I'm making them fairly thick. I want them to rise a little bit. If you don't want yours to rise, you will just roll yours out thinner than what I have done. and we're gonna pop that into our oven. And the temperature setting that we need to have there is 200 degrees, and we're gonna bake our cookies for 5 to 8 minutes depending on your thickness and how big your cookies are. So the next one is gonna be with glazed cherries. So we're just gonna start off by shaping them into our circles, and then we're going to chop up our cherries into small little bits, and then we're just going to stick those in the center of each and every one of those cookies. I know that glazed cherries come in green, red, you also get yellow ones, so you're more than welcome to go wild and free and buy all the colors that you can, or just stick to one color like I have in this video. Okay, so we're also going to pop it into the oven, and the duration is absolutely the same. It's 5 to 8 minutes at 200 degrees in our oven. Okay, so these are the coconut cookies. They've come out, and you can see that they've risen a little bit, and that's just the way I want them. The next one that we're going to do is we're going to do some chocolate flavor inside. We're going to infuse some chocolate flavor on one of the cookie doughs, and what I'm going to be using is cocoa powder from Nestle, and I'm basically going to mix that up with a little bit of milk, and then similar to what I did with the coconut flakes, we're just going to be infusing it into the dough by closing it up and punching it into itself. You can also do this with an electric mixer. If you're doing it by hand, you need to exercise patience because you need to do it in steps until your cookie dough is completely changed in color and it's nice and brown. You can also add more cocoa than I did. I just didn't want mine to have like a dominant chocolate flavor, so I'm just rolling that out. And of course you can notice that it's more flexible than the original cookie dough mixture, and that's because we've added a little bit more liquid in it. So once we've rolled both of them out, I'm just going to cut them into similar sizes. It doesn't have to be exact, it's not a scientific thing. And then we're just going to stack them on top of each other. Once I've stacked them on top of each other, I'm then going to roll them I'm just going to roll the two together, and that's how we're going to achieve our spiral shape. And basically once you've done rolling it together, you're just going to make sure that the last seam is sealed by pressing it down, and then you're going to place this inside your freezer for about 30 minutes for it to firm up a bit, and then we're going to move over to the next step of cutting the cookies. Okay, so it's firmed up a bit, so you're gonna cut it to the thickness that you want. For me it doesn't really matter because I'm still going to roll it out because I wanted mine to be a little bit bigger in dimension. But if you don't want yours to be a bigger dimension, then you just need to cut it thinner than what I have. So I'm going to continue to do this process to cut out all the dough that I've measured out, and it gave me around 10 of these cookies, and then we're going to place them in the oven. The duration is exactly the same, guys. It's going to be 5 to 8 minutes, and that will be at 200 degrees. Okay, so some of the dough from the chocolate and the plain dough mixture was remaining behind, and I just wanted to show you guys how you can also make a duo biscuit which has both the chocolate and the plain cookie dough together. So you just basically combine the two, and by the seam, that is where you shape out your cookie. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple, and you have to agree with me that it'll make you look like you know what you're doing when it comes to baking cookies, but you're only trying this out for the first time, right? Okay, so once we're done with that, we are going to move over and place them in our oven, and also the same duration, 5 to 8 minutes at 200 degrees. Now the leftover dough I've just shaped into circles or discs, and I'm going to be coating this with chocolate. Okay, so I'm using white chocolate and also some dairy milk chocolate from Cadbury. I will show you guys the exact ones that I'm using in the next clip, but basically I've melted my chocolate inside the microwave, and I've just added a little bit of oil before I added it into the microwave so that it can have this nice glossy look to it. And then I'm basically going to dip the cookies inside the white and the brown chocolate. It depends on you, whatever you want to do, whichever way you want to do it. There is no right or wrong way, you can do it anyhow. And I just showed you guys the chocolate that I was using. So I was using the Cadbury Dream chocolate and then also the Cadbury Dairy Milk. So this is what the cookies are looking like. Now once you're done with this process, I strongly recommend that you keep these overnight on the rack so that that they can dry. So this is what our cookies are looking like, and it's obviously the next morning you can see the lighting is much better. So basically I left these out overnight so that they can harden up, and you can see the chocolate ones when you're just rubbing your finger on them very hard, you're not going to get any chocolate. And look at that snap. So all the cookies will be snapping like this. They are nice, they are very crunchy. So at this point I just wanted to go through what I've done. I've made the chocolate and plain swirl cookies, I've made the coconut cookies, I have also made plain ones which I just shaped out into circles. I didn't do much to them. I also made the ones with the glazed cherries in the middle, and then I also made the I call it the plain chocolate duo, where I've combined the two together. Okay, so you can see mine, they are a bit of a struggle there because I did leave them in the oven for a bit too long. I got a bit distracted, so you don't want to leave yours in the oven for too long. And I've packaged them and packed them out, so now I am ready to host anybody for some tea time at my place. And then the rest of them I am just going to put in an airtight container and put them on display so that anybody who wants some cookies can come and request for them from my kitchen. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys try this recipe out. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss a single recipe from me. These cookies actually do not go bad, so they don't form mold or anything like that, but in order for them not to go stale, you'll have to make sure that you keep them in an airtight container. So you can keep these cookies for up to a month or more depending on what you like and how you store them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. Bye.